Good morning, students. Hope you're all doing well. Now, in the last lecture, we spoke about the Mauryan Empire, the beginning of the Mauryan Empire, the various emperors or the rulers that the Mauryan Empire had. Then we moved on to talk about the territorial extent of the empire, which covered a region from Indus Plain till the Gangetic Plain, as well as till the borders of Karnataka. Then we spoke about the various rulers, the most prominent ones who had a major contribution in making the Mauryan Empire as powerful, as mighty as we know it. Then we studied about the sources which reveal to us a lot of information that we know about the Mauryan Empire. Okay, now we'll move on with the next topic, administration of Mauryan Empire. Administering the empire. See, administering such a vast Mauryan empire means that there cannot be just one political center. एक political center से तुम एक capital से सारा areas के ऊपर कैसे command करोगे? So obviously there will be a capital where the emperor will reside and he will rule from there. But for efficient administration, you need to have more centers spread around throughout your empire so that you can control different areas. So for Mauryan Empire, you had 5 such political centers. ठीक है, सबसे पहला वाला obviously the capital city of the Magad or Mauryan Empire, that was Patliputra itself. Next, you had the entire empire divided into 4 provinces, okay? And each of this province had their own capital city. Capital cities are mentioned in your book. Make a note of it: Takshila, Ujjaini, Tosali, and Suvarnagiri. Now, each of these capital cities was chosen for a specific reason, okay? Like Takshila, the capital of the northern province known as Uttarpat, was where one of the most important trade routes passed through, okay, towards Central Asia part. Then you had Ujjaini, okay, situated in the Dakshin Path. तो वहाँ से second एक और important trade route जाता था north से south जाने के लिए. और तक्षशिला से कौन सा था? You had the trade route going towards Central Asia and beyond. So even Mauryans had trade relations with other nations, Central Asian nations. So just keep that in mind. So you need to have land routes and river routes. Fine. These capitals were built along strategic places, and they were all, remember, these places were already developed. Why? Because in previous Mahajanpad era, they were already the capital of their own Mahajanpad. So obviously you're getting ek bana banaya fortified city. All you had to do was the king had to capture it and make changes in its administration. Fine. Next you have Suvarnagiri. Suvarnagiri नाम से समझ में आता है सुवर्ण मतलब gold, गिरी means पहाड़. हमेशा words को थोड़ा तोड़ के पढ़ने से it becomes very easy. So Suvarnagiri was important so that this trade route, that gold which was extracted from Kolar gold mines, remember KGF se, Kolar gold field se, these golds could be transported till the capital or wherever it was required by the Mauryas. So that is Suvarnagiri. Now there is again another one, Toshali. Toshali was the capital of the easternmost province. Kalingam is situated hai, okay. Now why would that have been important? Remember this in mind. Kaling was captured by Ashoka. It was like his mark of authority, okay. उसके लिए एक बहुत proud वाला बात था. I mean, think about it. A region that was not captured by the earlier generations or earlier dynasty, if you suddenly overpower it or bring it under your fold, obviously it will symbolize how great you are. So you will want it to be, and to keep a closer check on that territory, as well as to keep people reminding that this is a territory which I conquered. Okay, so these are the important capital city of the 4 provinces within the Mauryan Empire. Now each of these capital city or the provinces was ruled by, you can say, governors. So these governors could be the sons of the emperor, or they could be the relatives of the emperor. And obviously these sons or the relatives had a council of ministers to assist that person. So these princes used to rule in the name of emperor. ये दिमाग में याद रखना. Why? Because emperor is all powerful. He is the Chakravartin Samrat. So obviously he will keep all his power closer to him. The power was very much centralized. Now there is a question being asked in your book. Do you think that the administrative system would have been uniform throughout this empire? Apply some logic here, okay? See, itna vast empire hai. Obviously everywhere this administrative control would not be strong. So जो core areas है, the core areas where the capitals or the capitals के पास वाला area, that will obviously have much more administrative control. ठीक है? You will have officers working right under the prince, okay? So you do have greater control of administration over the capital cities or the important cities. But as you move to outside the capital city, jitna dur hote hai capital city ya provincial cities sabse, I mean when you move more towards the fringes or the periphery, this administrative control becomes weaker. Okay, so this is what you have to keep in mind while studying about the administrative setup of this entire. So we just concluded with the political setup of the Mauryan Empire. Now let us look further into the transport and communication part of the empire. So it's a pan-India empire. Such a huge empire means that you had to ensure that the fringes or the periphery of the empire was even connected to its political center or the capital. Okay? So in order to carry out, you can say, trade, or for the movement from provinces to center if the army had to travel, or the princes who were governing these provinces had to travel. For these purposes you had both land routes and river routes. River routes, you already know, the tributaries of the Gangas were utilized in a way that boats used to take the people to their required destination. Fine. Regarding land transport, something which is not mentioned in your book, but I think you should know, that Chandragupta Maurya was the one who first built the Grand Trunk Road. Okay, this road is highly significant. Okay, it connected Magad, the capital Patliputra, you can say, to the Takshila part, till the northwestern part of the empire. So not only that, to the other side, it was even connected to West Bengal. So this Grand Trunk Road was built by Chandragupta Maurya, was later on enhanced, maintained by his grandson Ashoka. Then again, when you skip for around another 1500 centuries, 1500 years, 1500 years, you'll come to know that Sher Shah Suri was also the one who again rebuilt this Grand Trunk Road after it, required maintenance. So this route, which was connecting the capitals to its extreme corner, which was utilized. So there was not only this one single route, there were many other routes. Roads are like arteries, connecting the empire. So this journey from provinces to capital was always fraught with danger. Hamesha safe nahi rehta hai. So you had army accompanying whenever a prince or a governor or an important person was traveling. Now this management of an army, which was not only protecting the frontiers or fighting wars with your neighboring states, but in fact preserving its own empire. So it had a number of tasks at its hand. So how was army reorganized in order to ensure that all these tasks were carried out in a most proficient or efficient manner? So Megasthenes, remember the ambassador who came to India, Greek ambassador who came to India, he says that the entire army was looked up by committees, 6 committees. Each of these committee was specialized would have specialized in one task pertaining to the army. Okay, so there were six such committees looking after the army and its provisions. So all these committees are mentioned in your book. You just need to know them by heart and make sure you know them by in its proper order. Now, the last part of the administration of Mauryan Empire would be Ashoka's Dhamma. What is that? Ashoka, if you think about him, was a ruler who had a very paternalistic view towards his subjects. He considered his subjects to be his children. So, in order to ensure that his subjects would follow the guidelines he wanted them to follow, he inscribed his dhamma. Okay, dhamma is a corrupted word, you can say, from Sanskrit word dharma. So his dhamma is basically a code of conduct for leading a life which would be much more peaceful and ensure a harmonious life with others. So he inscribed these messages of Dhamma all over his empire in his inscriptions. Remember these inscriptions which were engraved either on pillars, okay, pillars crowned with that animal capital, or on rock edicts, known as, it is divided into two: major rock edicts and minor rock edicts. Major matlab bada rock edict mein engraved hai, and minor matlab smaller. You get the idea. So Ashoka's viewpoint, or the principles that he wanted his subjects to follow, which was very much inspired by Buddhism. If you look at each and every tenet of that dhamma, you will come to know that these principles which are mentioned there are very much universally applicable. Okay? So in order to ensure that each and every subject of his knew about this dhamma or dharma, as you know, so he appointed special officers and entrusted them with the task of making sure that each and every people know what dhamma is. See, remember, during that time, though people are living in this prosperous empire, it does not mean that all of them are educated or literate. Okay? So Dhamma Mahamatas are the people or the officers who used to spell out or explain the tenets of Dhamma to the normal layman or common people. So by ensuring this, okay, by making sure that all of these tenets are being followed, and by having such a strong administrative setup with a centralized power, and transport and communication was well protected, he ensured that the administration of the empire would be rock solid. Now we come to the last part of the topic, known as how important was the Mauryan Empire. We already spoke about when the inscriptions were deciphered and people came to know about, the historians or the scholars came to know about the history of such an important empire. They were awed by it, they were floored by it. Okay, just to imagine that such a kind of empire existed in the Indian subcontinent more than 2000 years back was novel in itself. It was a very exciting idea. Now, the discovery of artifacts of this civilization, whether it was the sculptures or it was the cave architecture. Now, we have not studied about cave architecture, but just in brief I'll tell you in one or two lines. So Mauryans were very proficient in cave architecture. They molded caves. Okay, jo cave hota hai, pehle bhi prehistoric people used to live in caves, you might have heard this. So they were able to craft or make this cave into living places. Okay, cave mein hi architecture kar dalte the. That well versed they were with engineering and architecture. So all these achievements, whether it was with sculpture or cave architecture, it just reinforced the idea amongst historians or scholars that how grandiose this empire was. Okay, you can just imagine कि उस समय का वो grandeur क्या था. You know, Kumrar में even when you go, though there are not much remains left, but they say there was an 80 pillared hall. Imagine, I mean, the excavations have revealed that there was an 80 pillared hall. So ये सब बस reinforce करते रहता है ये idea. Then again, the messages that were passed on through these inscriptions, the rock edicts and the pillar edicts of Ashoka, they point out to the fact of how great Ashoka was and how much he did for his subjects. Okay, so that automatically this qualities present in Ashoka made him a role model for the nationalist leaders of that time. Okay, remember the national movement was going on. We are talking about 19th century and 20th century, the late 19th century and the early 20th century, when national movement was very much at forefront. So what they are looking for, national movement people who are involved in this, they are looking for to regain their self confidence, okay, which was lost. So just by acknowledging the fact that you had such an emperor and such a vast empire ruling India, okay, so it imbued them with a sense of self confidence. So these were the achievements of these empire. When you look about, I'll not exactly say cons, pros and cons में divide करेंगे, but just think about it. What were the shortcomings of this empire if you think about it? So again, we'll study this point by point. One thing, it was there, this entire dynasty or the Mauryan dynasty ruling this Mauryan Empire was there for a very short period of time. Okay? Why is that? After Ashok, the one that established himself as the Chakravartin Samrat and made sure that his empire prospered, he got very much complacent. He adopted Buddhism and made sure he invested most of his energy into spreading of this Buddhist ideals. So एक होता है ना कि when a king becomes complacent, he leaves his aggressive nature behind and he adopts a more friendly attitude. It's good for the empire at that time, ठीक है. लेकिन उसके बाद जो successors आएंगे, they'll automatically be weak. They'll not, because it's like you have inherited something so great, all you would want to do is just preserve it. They will lose the impetus to again, further and reach out. So they are only concentrating on how to preserve the empire. ठीक है, तो उसके जो successors आए उसके बाद, they were pretty much weak when you think about it from the administrative point of view. Then you have another thing, it did not encompass the entire subcontinent. Remember, the tip of the India was not covered. It was being ruled by Cholas and Pandyas at that time. So Karnataka ke beyond, the Mauryans had not established their empire. So that is one thing. So एक तरीके से पूरा pan India empire नहीं था, but yes, to the extent that it actually covered this vast territory, we still call it a pan India empire. And another thing, it couldn't control the periphery as strongly as the centers. Okay, it's a very given fact, we have already spoken about it. The administrative control periphery में बहुत कम था, but capital city and provincial centers में ज़्यादा था. And finally, what happened after the Mauryan Empire collapsed, it led to formation of new kingdoms. Okay, so this is it. Go through this, write your assignments, and we'll begin with a new topic in the next class. Till then, take care.